revolutionary Ras Reports, a ran with reason, supporting the struggle for international justice every day. So you got Drone Bomber, aka Drone Corleone, his wife. She trying to support keeping kids skinny, keeping kids, you know, not obese. But what they're not telling you about, what they're not talking about, is GMOs. Yeah, they had an article front page of Wall Street's Journal this morning. I don't know where it went, but you know, talking about how they're going to have a prescription farming now from Monsanto and DuPont and all these big agricultural businesses which have purchased the patents to be able to sell the crops and to be able to prevent anyone else from selling the crops. So if we keep headed down this road in the future, what's going to happen is their dirty crops, their genetically modified organisms are polluting the other crops and killing off the other farmers. That's why you've got farmers in Mexico that have been drinking the poison, Monsanto's actual poison that they make, and killing themselves because they can't survive. They can't have any food anymore. So, you know, this is just more colonialization, more way to push people out that you don't want on the land, and more of a way to take over the land. And it's companies like Fidelity, the mutual investment firm that takes people's money from teachers and, you know, lawyers, all these people that invest in Fidelity, they put their money in Monsanto, and most of the time they do it unbeknownst. They do it without even knowing what they're doing. The problem is there's no long-term evidence on what genetically modified organisms have actually done. And if you look at the history of the, you know, the health records, you're going to find that there's a lot more patients with diseases today that have never been, you know, found before, and more cancer spreading that's never been seen before. And so you got to get to the root of the problem. And I say that one issue is this genetically modified organism that hasn't been studied, but has shown, you know, when they've had rats and mice take it, and their boobs blow up and their body blows up and all this stuff blows up. Well, if you look around you and look at some of these people, you know, they're deformed. They don't look right. The women's shoulders, and you know, all these kinds of things going on. And you say, this shit's not normal. Yeah, they're getting tissue in places that normally they wouldn't be getting tissue. Tensions swell of a religious site in Jerusalem. What a sad ordeal this is. I mean, you know, they got a site that's designated for Islams. They've come to an agreement. They've said, we're going to designate this mount for Islamic people. But the state of Israel seems to think that, you know, they have the authority to put their flag on anything, you know, in that area. So that's what they're doing, is they're putting their flag on this religious holy site. And, you know, it just really seems like they just push people's buttons, you know, keep pushing them on the shoulder. And they force a retaliation, and when they get it, then they point at these people as if they're, you know, animals. But, you know, reality is that, you know, these people feel strongly about their history of Palestine, which is written in the Bible. And then somebody in Britain someday decided, you know, in the last 100 years that, you know, we're going to have this as a designated holy area for only a small group of people in the world. And everybody that belongs to that small group of people can go flock there. Well, you know, this is Jerusalem. You know, how could you say that? And what kind of God do you worship? If you believe that this is righteousness, what kind of God is that? It certainly isn't the God of Israel. It certainly isn't the God of Israel. Rivalries, prolonged power vacuum in Ukraine. You know, Russia getting ready for war right now. They're setting up there on the border. And, you know, the European Union and the U.S., you know, they think it's a joke, but they're losing grip. And they really think that they have grip, but they don't, because power concedes nothing without demand. Frederick Douglass told us that. And it's going to be split. The country's going to be split. And thanks to the United States of America, thanks to the European countries that have split that country, because that's the cause of it. It wasn't Russia. It wasn't Ukraine. It wasn't the leader in Ukraine. The leader was elected. He made a decision. But, you know, this is how the one world government works, and this is why we need that separation. We need that balance. We need that diversity of cultures, because it's the checks and balance around the world. And when you don't have it, then these people that sit at the top of the tower, barely worked a day in their life, and they're going to tell everybody in the world how to work and what kind of work to do for them, you know. And it's all disguised, but, you know, like they've done some research and found that the inequality in the United States is far greater than it ever was in ancient Egypt with the Pharaoh. So, you know, when you know those things, like, again, I say to myself, man, how embarrassing is it to be in this country, to live in this country amongst a bunch of cowards? You know, it's just, it gets underneath my skin, you know, and thank the Lord that the Lord is here and has disciplined I to make I a strong and valiant soldier in his name. Otherwise, I probably would have flipped out, because I just can't it's difficult to live amongst cowards. I just don't like living amongst cowards. U.S. expelled 3 diplomats. So, you know, they weren't, here's another example. They're not happy with Venezuela when you don't have the checks and balances in place. And what they did was they were using propaganda, CIA-generated propaganda, and really hitting off the student populations, because they understood that's where a lot of the disruption can tend to come from, and students aren't able to process things. They tend to believe everything they hear because they're not old enough to really process the information. So, you know, with the CIA-generated propaganda, they caused the uprising, and you know, as a result of that, you know, Venezuela obviously got rid of the 3 diplomats that were paying the students off to cause the uprising. Makes sense, doesn't it? They found out they were spies. They didn't hold them hostage. They released them. It shows what kind of a country Venezuela is, because here they would have certainly been held hostage. And, you know, in return, we're going to get rid of the 3 Venezuela diplomats. We're going to expel them. So, you know, it's just like kindergarten class. When you don't get your way, you know, you find a way to get back to the guy. You spit on him or trip him or something like that, you know. And, you know, that's how the U.S. acts. That's all. So, justice is allowed disputed home search. So, they say now that the police can go into your house if you live with multiple residents, and one of them gives you consent while the other ones aren't present. Then they're allowed to go into the house. So again, you know, they continue to pass laws that limit people's freedom. They never pass laws that give people more freedom. You know, that's the big joke of it all, is we're supposed to be the free country and this and that, but every single day they pass more laws. They give people less and less freedom, give the police more and more freedom, and I see them out here. They don't obey the laws. These people almost kill people on the road. I've seen them, the sheriff, driving off the road, you know, swerving to avoid hitting people. And I've had a friend whose brain is injured because she got hit by a police officer going through an intersection through a red light. And now she's paralyzed for life. So, you know, my advice, honestly, if I see a police officer, if I have you know, if at this point right now, because my last confrontation didn't go well. I got assaulted and my wife got assaulted and raped. And from a police officer in Lakeland. So if I see them, I'm going to run, because I don't trust them. I don't trust them no more. They will assault you and they will put the charge on you. And it doesn't matter what happens to you. If you die, they get off. I mean, you see the ex-cop, somebody threw a popcorn at him in a movie theater and he blasted the guy. He blasted the guy, and he doesn't get charged with first-degree murder because he's an ex-cop. That's the only reason why. If he wasn't an ex-cop, he would have got charged. But we got this thing in this country where the ruling classes rule everything, and they go, the police are our protection, and that therefore, you know, the police get all these breaks. Well, you know, like I said, I don't trust them. If I see them, I'm going to run. And then I'm going to tell the jury, that's why I ran, because I get assaulted when the police approach me. And then they turn it around on me. So they talking about transgender kids in California. They say that, you know, there were some parents got together and had a, you know, tried to sign up